I know some of you have some questions. Some of you students must have a question. Yes?
Yeah.
I've heard that some of the people who were trapped in the ghetto weren't just Jews. They were just people who lived in that neighborhood, and they were trapped in the ghetto as well. Or was it all Jews, or was it a mix of people?
No, it was all Jews. And what has actually happened, that when the Germans started this in 1933 with their laws, they expelled many German Jews into the ghetto, and the ghetto was in a predominantly Jewish area. Now, each apartment had a Gentile or a family living there with the duties of controlling that and to be someone that would take care of the food situation for the Sabbath. Because on the Sabbath, we couldn't light, we couldn't write, or we couldn't walk, or we couldn't carry, or we couldn't, and we have it in the United States too, but not to the point of there. But when the ghetto was built, all these people were evicted. So only Jews were there, to the tune of 500,000. But the area in Warsaw was bombed more than any other city. In fact, the whole country was about 85%, bombed. But Warsaw Ghetto, worse than that, because the population of Warsaw was 30%. When the Germans set up the German government, I don't know if anybody realizes here, Warsaw was the capital of Poland, but the Germans made Krakow the capital of Poland because they didn't have enough facilities or places where they could conduct their business as the occupier of Poland. And the other thing is that you might go back to history, that why the final solution in 1942, that's when it happened, is because while Germany occupied Poland, Russia took a part of Ukraine and the other side of Poland, met together around Warsaw with Germany, signed a non-aggression pact with Germany, broke it, invaded Russia, went up to Stalingrad, waiting for supplies, surrounded by the Russians, many Germans captured, attempts on Hitler's life, invasion in Italy, and that's why the final solution. But it was bad. But you see, every one of us has a defensive mode, just like you have a system that battles you illnesses. I had typhoid. May he rest in peace. My little brother had typhoid because when the ghetto started, there was an epidemic of typhoid in Warsaw. Your mind works defensively regardless of what happens to you. So if I was to faint right now, many of you will come down here, try to give me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. That is your armament for defensive. So this is how, when you live in these conditions, your mind starts working. If you have a mind, or if you can be nourished enough to do that.
So Max, what's going to happen when sometime 20, 30, 40 years ago from now, when there are no people who survived and lived through it, and you have people who say that this never happened?
Well, this is why we have our Holocaust museums. This is why we should film the testimonies of the Holocaust survivors. And this is why I spend so much time speaking, regardless whether it's a Jewish holiday. I'm going to be on a radio station tomorrow morning. Well, I should be in the synagogue, and maybe even tonight. And I feel, I feel that what I'm doing by educating people so horrible things like that will not happen again is a greater, if what we call a mitzvah, than going to the synagogue where for 5 years I prayed of my own without going to a synagogue, and evidently some of my prayers were heard. And so,
And we're lucky about that.
and this is why I sometimes say that people ask me, did you disbelieve in God? If I prayed for him to let me live for another day and maybe to get another piece of bread, because you don't think about time or what, all you think about putting something in your mouth. And
Just
evidently
like
I'm
my
still
dog.
here. Yeah, yeah. There you go.
All he's
But
thinking
you
about
treat
is-
your dog better than people treat them in the film.
I think most
There you go.
dogs in Jewish households live better
That's right.
than many people around the world. Yeah.
Yes.
How do you think that this has any, your experience has any relation, or how does it relate to the way the Israelis are treating the Palestinians in Gaza right now?
Well, I was sent just today a YouTube picture, and it says, "Could you tell me where this was filmed?" And I looked and I looked, and the end thing it said in Gaza. What the information that you get right here in the United States is based on the facts of the Germans that you saw in this film, because most of it is propaganda done by us, by some of the networks. I was in Israel 5 times with kids. I was in Echo. It's not a Jewish city. It's an Arab city. They speak better Hebrew than some of the Israelis. They know the Old Testament as well. They live together. There's a gate in Israel that lets in Arabs and Palestinians to work in Israel. You might ride on a bus, and the bus driver and the truck driver is an Arab. What you see is the bad things. You don't see the good things. They give them electricity. Do you know how much tons of food Israel sends into them daily? The ones that you see should be working. Why there's always so many people with guns shooting up into the air? If the bullet drops down, it kills their own. It doesn't kill any Israelis. Where are they employed? Can they govern themselves? No. You sign a treaty with one person, the others don't want to obey it. They have certain groups that thrive on their own and rob them with all the funds that you send into that area. I drove right by the wall. This year we visited with the soldiers that are guarding Gaza, and they sometimes throw stones at them. Israel is very nice and lets them live, but they don't want to live by themselves. They want to be terrorists.
From my point of view, as somebody who looks at media, all I can say is that on both sides we have to look at the media that we see carefully and analyze what it's trying to say. In looking at work for the festival, I saw several documentaries that deconstructing what was supposedly news and telling you how it was falsified on both sides, on many sides. It's just, you can't just absorb things you see as news and expect them to be true. And I think that we need to be very vigilant when we watch what is supposedly news and what kind of point of view it's supposed to be talking from all sides.